Call the meeting to order, 7:01. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
And for your communication when I sent that stuff. First order of business on the agenda is consider the minutes for the 10/24 meeting. We approved that last time. There was no need to look at that.
Yeah, I was wondering, I didn't remember getting a copy, so.
Right.
It's probably a couple of months ago.
If you found one, it was from November.
Yeah.
So we are considering the minutes from the November 13th meeting for approval. Have you had an opportunity to take a peek at that?
Yes, I did. So I can make a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th, 2024.
We have a motion to approve, made and seconded. I second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Yeah. All right. So, Green Communities Grant Program. I don't know if you've heard, but the school district decided to close Spalding.
I saw something about that. Yeah.
Right. So the $200,000 we just spent at Spalding is not going to benefit us much. The building will drop out, I assume, altogether out of our usage because there'll be no usage. Or,
So
just maintenance usage.
no immediate plan on what to do with that building.
We do not have a disposition. We don't know what it is. I don't know if they're decommissioning. That's why I put it in the agenda with a question mark. It would probably cost more than they saved if they were to try to demolish the building, Structure like that. No, not coming down. Battleship. Well, that's a shame. I point out that actually Rise chose that set. We might have chosen the same thing if we had chosen our own, but okay. There are some other things I'm concerned about at that school, even though it's dropping out. We got a note from there's a note from Rise received via Nelson. I had asked him what the progress was, and it does appear that Frank is choosing to communicate with Nelson and not with me. I haven't received a message from Frank since a long time.
Yeah.
They said the message said that all the projects are complete. The library and senior center change orders, the Muni LEDs, and all three of those things that we're working on are done.
Okay, so just because you're more involved in the details of this, so the library senior center, that was implementing recommendations from the study that they did on practices to say that.
That was actually, they found a couple of things. It appears to me from the dates of the contracts, Frank missed contracts, but it wouldn't fit dollar-wise into what we were doing. It turns out that I believe he turned that over to Unitil somewhere or other got involved, and Unitil paid for the rest of those projects that normally Green Communities Grant Program would. It was an update to they were fixing the VRFs or whatever. I could get at it here because I do.
It's not like that. Boy, I was just make sure I was
the idea
semi up to speed.
The idea is that there was stuff that ended up getting done after the fact. Frank apparently discovered from the retro study that there were things that had not been handled at the library that should have been. They actually developed contracts a year ago, 6 months before they even did the retro study, right? So when we got it, it came as a change order. I don't know how it comes out as a change order, because I guess Unitil, even though it comes through the grant program, Unitil is helping pay for the retro study.
Mhm.
So they're involved, and they published a change order. It was an order that they never gave us, and then they discovered it through the retro study. This stuff hasn't been done. It ought to be fixed, you know. And then he comes out and tells me he doesn't think that we'll be able to participate in the fall round because this stuff isn't done.
Mm,
So that delayed us through the fall.
right. So that's
But all three of those are done.
right. Good.
Having done this before, I decided to let's chase down the paperwork, because just because it's done doesn't necessarily mean that anything that has to happen is happening. And it turns out that Erin, who was the part-time grant administrator, is getting involved. I had texted Karen Chapman. Actually, the whole group over there, there's three of them over there in MIPC, but Karen Chapman, the boss, I guess, and asked them if, you know, our work, if they had been updated with the stuff. And they said they hadn't heard anything, but they understood that Erin Steffield was going to handle everything. Had it been done? They were wondering, has it been done? So I sent a message to Erin and asked her, probably Teresa, and discovered that she responded that she was having trouble getting information from the school, which is, you know, $185,000 of the 200. So
Yeah.
no, the answer is no. We hadn't really finished yet, and my inquiry apparently got her to ask Nelson to get involved. So Nelson contacted his guy back in December. He says hadn't had a. He said he was having trouble getting them to respond to it, but he tried again, and apparently, you know, within hours after him telling me he was having trouble, I said, "Well, you tried Nancy Haynes because she's, you know, over there and she's interested in making sure the stuff gets paid for." And also, in the back of my head, I'm thinking that those people over there now thinking at North Middlesex are thinking, we're all done with Spalding. We're done. You know, we don't want to spend any time on it. You know,
Right.
so I don't know what's going on. But he says he did get a response. Nelson says he did get a response, and it's gonna go through. But I don't know where it stands today. This is like within 24 hours.
So basically, that's just paperwork showing that all the work from the previous.
It was
rounds
certifying that everything is done.
Yeah.
So I am going to read now into the minutes, and for purposes of making sure that it's recorded somewhere, the Green Communities Grant Program deadlines that affect us for the spring round. The by February 3rd, we should have expended all previous funds, and the stuff that we did should be operational. Also, by February 3rd, invoices on all that work must be paid, and the final report submitted by 5 p.m. on that day. On March 21st, answer questions regarding that. If there that's a deadline to finish all that. The annual report should have been done by November 15th, and it was. And the next public opportunity notice, called Block 3, this is spring on it, opens on March 24th. So we need our quotes certainly before then, and closes on the 4th, April 4th at 5 p.m. So now we're going to have all those things recorded so we can see it. But that's the important one, is first of all to have everything finished by paperwork and all that by February 3rd, And secondly, have a quote by the time the new block opens and have a quote in their hands about 2 weeks later. So we would have about 2 weeks to handle it once the thing opens. And with that, we would get a letter that would tell us what was successful last time. We'll be looking for that. It's in the fine print somewhere, but you can tell what percentage savings was successful last time. And so that's kind of like a goal, because over time, this whole group of people moving forward are having less and less opportunity to save money because they already saved the big stuff, right?
Right.
So hopefully you look for that goal to come down a little bit, because the stuff that's next, the heat, for us, at least, the heat pumps don't really save a hell of a lot of money. They just save carbon. But we'll see that in this quote. So I've checked the completeness, and that's where we are. It appears we're able to participate in the next round. With quotes. I did massage the 2021 quote from RISE project list, and it quotes spreadsheet to show the completed projects and suggesting priorities. The first priority, of course, is going to be that Memorial Hall, as Rob requested.
Right. So that's that first item, replacement
Right.
boilers.
There isn't. We aren't necessarily. I really doubt that we're going to be able to act on that in the spring round. That's not going to happen. You know, we got to get a quote, and then that gets considered. The questions asked. I imagine Rob would have questions, and what does this entail? What brands you're going to use? How long will it take to install? Will we lose heat during the all the questions, and then the whole question about backup. What do you do when you get the power failure? Right now, they have a generator that will power this place at some point. I don't know about completely, but they have a generator that is a backup for this structure. That generator is not up to doing heat pumps.
Right.
So we have to consider, and perhaps on the town's own funding, put in a backup generator, because the program may not want you to put in a backup generator, because then you're not using electricity. You're generating electricity.
That would just be a physical
I don't know what their attitude is towards that.
Right.
But
so the backup generator now is just, they're running gas boilers, right?
I probably I don't know whether it's gas. I would assume it's gas.
So it would be just the electricity needed to fire up the boiler, but it's basically most of the energy is the gas.
I don't know. I think he said it's a 60 megawatt. I don't know, 60 kilowatt. I don't know what they said it's 60 something generator. And Rob's first thing when our very first conversation about heat pumps was that and I don't know about the generator we have is not adequate to do that.
Yeah, so it have to be a lot more electricity.
And what's the town's feelings to that? I mean, I think Unitil, some of these guys would say, well, you don't need a backup generator. We'll get you power one way or another. But the hurricane comes through.
Doesn't always.
I don't see that, and I see this being an important emergency structure, and the fire department and the police department. I mean, Hawthorne Brook as an emergency, building for everybody to go to in the case of a disaster. We need that kind of.
Yeah.
We're getting into the kind of discussion you get into when this is going to be the first one. Show a quotation and you tell the town, it's a $400,000 project. The program will pay $250,000. You have to pay $150,000. And we'll give you a low interest or no interest loan for 7 years or something like that. I don't know, like a program like that. And then the discussion happens with what about backup power? What happens when we don't have electricity? And then you get into that conversation. I don't know how the town would look at that, but that's what we're going to try to present. That's where we are. And
so let me ask you, so these costs, this is from a 2021 quote that we got?
Okay, so the next line, the next thing is we're going to take a look at that sheet. And I want to tell you first how I organized it so that, you will be able to look at it together.
Yep.
I broke this down into, three different. My screen share button go? Where did my screen share button go?
Oh,
I had a screen share button down here.
oh, what do you have open now? That's
That is that spreadsheet.
right, but I think you need to go to, back to Zoom. Are you open?
Zoom,
And then from Zoom, you can hit screen share.
Zoom. There it is, share.
Yeah, and then you could go get the spreadsheet once it starts sharing, I guess. Oh, you have to pick which,
I have to do all the sharing through this program.
you have to pick which window you're sharing. Oh, I think you got it. Now you have to get the spreadsheet data.
There we are. I can't really read it. See it. Yeah, I have to read this one.
Oh, okay. I have my glasses on, fortunately, so I can.
Okay, so there are, I broke this down into four distinctive blocks.
Mm-hmm.
I left it, okay, so this is from a list of projects that we received from RISE in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I have maintained it, tried to maintain it, much in its original format, but everything off to the left there, that's green, I have input since then, and actually, when you get down to it, there's another hidden column back here, because we hidden hide. Say, so I back in 2022, I used this, and 23, I used this to, communicate with RISE on what we were trying to do, because they asked us to prioritize, remember? Yeah. So that's what this is. It's a prioritization of what we would like to have quoted next. This first block is stuff that has not been done already, and I think we would like to get quoted.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, all Hawthorne Brook is a big deal. Already 100.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah. We could spend another, 200,000. Wouldn't even get all that done.
Done, right? So it's all there, right there.
Seems like obviously I'm not keeping track of it all that, but we haven't replaced all the lights yet in the schools.
Good question.
Hawthorne Brook.
Good question. Did I miss something? Was there another year when we did that? But I remember last year both were on the thing, and after RISE sent us a quote, and it did not even include. He didn't even include Hawthorne Brook. We didn't get a quote on Hawthorne Brook. I won't take back yet. Hawthorne Brook. Oh, he didn't quote it last time. Not quoted. Not quoted. See?
Huh.
This column here.
Oh, that was a year ago.
That was last year.
Yeah.
A couple years ago before this. Those weren't even quoted. He just quoted Spalding, so we didn't have a choice to do Hawthorne Brook if we wanted. All right, so I just I took some of the items, highlighted the items that had a fairly high ROI. Some of them go low.
Right.
But if we had an awkward dollar value, not necessarily this time, but it had an awkward dollar value that we wanted to plug in, we felt we could fit another $7,000 into our thing and not have that 5% knock us out of the competitive aspect. Yeah. We could do it, but I want a number. Mm-hmm. And at some point, we want to finish the police station. We want to finish the Memorial Hall. We want to finish, like to get closer to being finished. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that down to here, I've kind of suggested the reasoning for why we would want a heat pump. We want to get a heat pump hot water heater. We haven't done that yet, but I don't know whether the newer quote would pay for that, because it would save money, because what he quoted back in 2021 was a gas condensing water heater, not a heat pump.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And these VFDs, I think that's what they did over at the
Water department,
yeah,
variable.
over at the senior center. That was the change order. This was one of the change.
Oh, okay, got it.
But this is at the police department. This is the kind of thing they needed to do at the senior center on the change order. Okay, so Hawthorne Brook, obviously, we get good ROI out of that, big numbers. And Hawthorne Brook could end up being used as an emergency structure, I should think, in town at some point. So we'd like to try to get that done. All right, if it fits. Now, these are all 2025 requests, 2025, 25.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I'm just telling them, it's got a fairly low return on rate. But we'd like to get a quote on it in 2026. They don't need one now. But if you got a quote on that, it ended up being, not too much money out of pocket for the generator and stuff, it may actually work. Yeah. The town may more likely accept it than this one, the big one. All right, so I don't know. Good. So after that, I'm just asking for the status of Spalding, closing status. We have not done the ground floor lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not likely to spend any of our grant towards that. But I'd like to record the status. Is it true that the ground floor is not done? So if they decide 5 years from now they want to reopen the school, we would like to start with knowing what we need to do.
Yeah.
All right, and the next one is a question for Rise. He had proposed to do a ventilating system at the Townsend Highway Department. High efficiency condenser, that condenser. That's electricity anyway. Very low return on investment. But my question is, when I see ventilation, and if you're trying to do ventilation or move air, I'm wondering if we don't do it, does that create any kind of a safety concern? Are you going to create mold because you didn't ventilate properly, or I don't know if he looks at that sort of thing. He's not communicating that sort of thing to me. But the question is, are there any health and safety concerns if we don't address that?
And it's like, where does something like that come from? Did it come from a past audit that identified that as a potential?
No, that is me. This was just an item on the list, right? This is the highway department, and this.
Well, why did they quote, like in 2021? Why did they quote a change to the ventilating system of the highway department? Where did that come from?
It was originally on the list.
Yeah.
As far as this column is concerned, I put that in.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
Because these are so low, we are not likely to try to do them.
Right.
However,
on the basis of
is there any health and safety concern if we don't do them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
when you insulate a building, like the one you insulate a house, you insulate an attic, you want to make sure there's proper ventilation. So we insulated these places, but I'm not sure if this ventilation aspect affects the environment in such a concern, or that if we did this, it would assure that a bad thing doesn't happen, mold, mildew. So that's a question. I have no idea how it's structured, if the thing's outside the building or inside the building. I have no idea. But I want to just ask these questions to Rise, and it would be on a separate, text rather than part of the.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering. I mean, I assume there is a ventilating system, and this is what this project is just replacement of. I mean, I don't know exactly the role of a condenser in the ventilating system, but it's talking about making it more energy efficient. It doesn't necessarily mean there's more ventilation from this project. But that's
the condenser generally takes water out.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're not taking water out. We've got the same old system we had before. You're going to replace it for the more efficient one than we have now. But if we don't replace it, Rob could tell me, we gotta replace that damn thing in next year.
Mhm.
I say, okay, well, if it doesn't screw up our competitive bid, we would include it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
He says we've got to replace it. It's not like a choice. We gotta, better. So why not have the 15 grand paid for by a grant rather than, I don't know. We'll number one thing we're responsible for, I think, here is to assure that we're competitive, but we have opportunities. And that's what you and I are trying to do, is make sure that what we choose out of the list that we get quoted
Right.
is competitive.
So you're thinking like it could be a mix of things. I mean, it could have some component of less return on investment projects because we want them for some other reason, because we just need that work done or whatever. But if the sort of collective return on investment is okay,
well, you and I
get
can decide when we see a quote to divide this list up over 2 years of $150,000, right? Per year. $300,000 if we did a lot of, we don't know what the price is going to be because it's all going up like 20-30% since this quote was done.
Right.
But when we look at the list together, we might want to do it as 2 shots at $200,000 rather than try to. We want to do it a shot of $150,000 and $200,000, having blended things enough to be competitive.
Right.
But that's the reason why I would like to get quotes on some things that are not great saving, because you and I may want to stick something in.
Yeah.
Or it may be beneficial to the town to do so. All right, so that first set there is the stuff that I wanted to actually involve Frank with,
Yeah.
now, the next set had to do with Squanicook, because he put Squanicook on the 2021 quote. As far as I know, the first floor of Squanicook, or some part of it, is used for preschool or early education thing, and then another section is used for all office and administrative stuff. And it is not on our MEI list. It is definitely on the North Middlesex list. But he keeps quoting this to us, and I don't know if any work is being done over there. So the ask was, we'll determine once and for all, is this a North Middlesex Regional School District or Townsend? Because I don't want to be involved in this. It's something that we're, I guess.
Well, what's the question? In other words,
is whose responsibility is this? North Middlesex Regional School District, or us?
What's the answer to that question for Hawthorne Brook?
Well, the question only comes up because Squanicook is included on our quote, even though we're not responsible for it in MEI. Whose responsibility is this? And someone ought to tell Frank, because he's giving us quotes on Squanicook, and I don't think I can.
And probably the thing that makes Squanicook different is that it's not the fact that it's not being used as a school. I mean,
it was dropped as a school, and
then
the North Middlesex Regional School District decided to use it for offices, and I heard early education.
Right.
Now, the early education part of it, that would be theirs. School administrative, that would be theirs. But it's located in Townsend. It's using electricity, so why is it theirs? Who's actually paying the bill there? I don't know. Are we, Townsend, paying the bill? It's ours. If they're paying the electric bill.
Oh, but I mean, we're not paying the bill in all the schools, are we? That are just because they're.
No, you're right, man. There's got to be a clarity that doesn't exist. To me, I don't think we're responsible for it, but I just wanted to assure that someone is responsible for it. Because why would Rise put it on our quote? He thought it was our school.
Yeah, I'm a little.
He did a lot of work to quote this, so I was just, so the question, I don't know who to talk to at the school district, so it's like you got to ask the program. I mean, maybe what's her name? The woman who is the MRPC, not the MRPC, the Green Communities Grant Program. What's her name?
Kelly Brown.
Kelly Brown.
Kelly Brown. Yeah.
And I'd ask her, because there seems to be some
Yeah, I thought there was, at one
being
point, the schools were not included, and then we got them added, or at least some of them.
that school, I had to try to get a lot of oil data and stuff for that school.
Mhm.
Well, what are we doing? You know, it's at some point it was no longer ours, and I don't know who made the decision but it's here. Anyway, the third block is the stuff that was done recently.
Right. Okay, so a lot of lighting.
And you get down to Spalding there, it's done, but is it being decommissioned? We don't know.
Hmm.
Because we still have not done the final floor, we're not likely to. It's awkward, you know, the first floor is not done, then you go upstairs, it's got different lights. All right, then the last one, the last green block there
Mm-hmm.
is stuff that has such low, the first one is no support at this time. Meaning that is a town building that Unitil would not pay for the lights for. We have no support, program support. Unitil won't pay for it, Green Communities Program won't pay for it. It's a 6% return. So I don't think we're going to be doing that unless we come up with some, you know, money.
Huh. I wonder why modifying light fixtures can be so cost effective in some buildings, but not in others. I wonder why that would be.
Good question.
Unless they're already like kind of efficient lights, I don't know. Or for some reason it costs more to do it there.
I don't know why that
Yeah.
would be the case. That's a good question. The next two we removed from the RFQ, the ventilating system and the height. This was on our system on the quote before when we were using natural gas.
Mhm.
If you do go to heat pumps in this building, you won't be using those, they told me. I said, you don't need those if you're going to use heat pumps. So that's why we take it off. And then the recreation building, not really heavily used, they have low usage.
Right.
I can't see saving money by going heat pump there, but it does, well, one way or another, a little bit of carbon comes out. The Memorial Hall, windows and doors, windows have never been a great payback, and I think Rob is making his way around here to do it yourself, putting plexiglass on the inside of the windows and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I took those out.
Okay.
So the first
Giving it a lot
group,
of thought.
what's that?
I say you've given it a lot of thought.
First group here, you know, is enough to ask Bryce to quote. I think the only other thing we could do would be to probably include some of the things that aren't done in that last list. I just don't see any support for it. So we ended up with that first list. Now, taking a look at that, my proposal would be to send Frank a request for quote, which includes all items that I have listed in the Quest 2025 quote, or down to the one that says 2025 Hawthorne Brook utility plant modifications, high efficiency transformer. So I'd like to quote on all those items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items to get quoted, and then ask for statuses and stuff on the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That sounds like a good list for
Yeah.
us to use. Okay. Let's just I will move that the discussion we just had from the semester we just had, that those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items on this list will be presented to Rise as our request for quote. And you second?
I will second that.
And you go aye, and I go aye, and we go yes.
Aye.
Yes. Yes, thank God we have a quorum. Oh, goodness sakes. Energy goals. I have done more on this since we had that, but for the next meeting, I like to circle back and, get that going again. Today, when I was, reading a message I got from Sabrina, telling me that the Board of Selectmen has like reorganized somewhat, and we have
Terry's not on Terry Morse is no longer on the board. I think I saw.
her name didn't come up as no one's told me that she's gone.
Mhm.
When
I thought I saw it, and it said that on the website, that there's gonna be an election, that there's a vacancy, and
I knew that there was a vacancy for there's a third person in the Board of Selectmen who gets elected as I could get that. I can get that right off the text that I got today. No, it was an email, so I think it was.
or maybe it was Sabrina's email. I don't remember where, now that you
I
mention.
forwarded it to you.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, I got
There is a position that they have an election on. I'm not sure. I haven't had any word that Teresa's no longer. Reorganization of the board. All right, so
it looked like Veronica is gonna be the liaison.
yes, she was great, but she's kind of overloaded with work. I sent her a message telling her that I think we're all set here for now. When we need help, we'll let her know, sort of thing. But I sent her the minutes and the agenda and the spreadsheet. So I did share that with you. And it was just said that, although there is an election coming, that's what we're looking for. But I didn't see that I thought they were voting for the secretary of the Board of Selectmen or something like that.
Oh, there's one soon, but I think there's one in April or something.
Oh.
I think that's the one where there would be an election for a new select board member.
The total turnover of the select board.
Yeah, in a short time.
So the idea was to get back to that. I saw when she sent that, I saw that the master plan, there is no one. There's a list of energy committee, Ron Montgomery and tech and email. But they had for master plan not available. No name filled in. So there's no rush in that project, although we are substantially ready.
Yeah,
I would like to just clean it up. If we don't have a vote at our next meeting, that's what we would do.
Yeah, I think it's been a while since I looked at it. I think I actually did go and what were you talking about doing? Basically putting all the changes into a Word document. I think I did that.
Well, the idea was so for the purpose of the new person, you have to show them the changes. You just change,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what benefit changes are for the new person, except to say that,
well, somebody's gonna want to know,
the
like,
the document you have says this, and the one we would like to send you from you says this.
Right.
That's where, I guess that's useful for that.
Yeah, in Word, you can just turn off the redlining, So
right.
You can have a red line.
So I asked for you to print it out in its finished form, like it was in the master plan, and we just read through that and make sure that it in one smooth read, so to make sure it all works together.
Yeah,
that you're substantially done except for that format. My part of it was to try to display savings, right? And yeah, we've made a lot of headway with that, but I still have more work to do.
Oh yeah, so is there anything I promised to do that I haven't done? Because I was going to look at some stuff, but then I wasn't. I think you said, well, you were still working on it, or
I think that
spreadsheets.
The only thing I know that you were working on was just the finishing up that word file for the master plan.
Yeah.
And mine was the Excel spreadsheet thing.
Right.
for the next meeting. We're open forum, none. Scheduled next meeting, I have reserved, room 2 downstairs for, February 12th. It's a Wednesday, 7 p.m. At this point, does that look?
It should be fine, I mean, it's, I don't have anything on February 12th, so I'm just gonna put it on my calendar. Okay. February 12th at
The 12th?
7 to 8. Yep.
Okay, okay. Yes. I'm gonna move to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
I.
We are adjourned at 7:44.